Hi, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Megan.
For years, we were stuck in a rut, always complaining that nothing ever changed for us.
And then we realized if we wanted to improve our lives, we had to put in the work.
Each week on this podcast, we'll get into an aspect of personal growth, relationships, or just life.
Through our own experiences and guest interviews, we hope to inspire you to make your own positive changes.
Welcome to the Fools in Love podcast. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Fools in Love podcast. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss one of our episodes. We're so happy that you're back, and today I honestly want to just jump right into it. And I want to ask a really important question. How do you feel about you? It seems like a simple question, right? But many times it takes some really deep thinking. And I want to ask you to dig in to some of your innermost thoughts today, and at its core, just how do you measure up with you? Now, as you know, we're really big over here on Fools about communication. We advocate for letting others know what you need because we know, frankly, what a difference it can make in your life and in all your relationships. And we often focus on the feelings of others and how others think about us. We let how they think about us contribute to how we feel. Like, do they like me? Am I showing up for them right now in the right ways? Am I being the best spouse, partner, boss, employee, and go on and on that I'm supposed to be? It may surprise you, though, that how others feel about you, it's really not the most important thing in your life. And although communication with the world is a big factor in your overall happiness, it simply isn't the number one thing that you should be concerned with. Because I'm going to tell you, the most important communication in your life is how you talk to yourself about yourself. So let me ask you, how are you speaking to yourself? What are the thoughts in your mind about yourself that you're having on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Let's take a second and just think about a typical day. What are the thoughts that are coming up for you when you're going through the day? What feedback are you giving yourself? Because as you know, we're giving ourselves constant feedback. So what feedback are you most likely giving yourself? And, it might be a mixed bag, but primarily, what are we doing? And even better, what about the days when you're struggling? Like, not a typical day, those hard and difficult days. What about those days when you're trying something new? What about the days when you believe you've fallen on your face and you've failed? Maybe that's a little different in those moments, isn't it? I know it is for me. But you see, the reality for me is that I know for many of us, it's that when things get tough and when things get challenging, we speak to ourselves terribly, don't we? And I know I could have done something 100 times, or if I'm doing something the first time and I expect it to go perfect. And when it doesn't, frankly, it's an indictment on me and my skills for myself. So as I was reflecting on this, I thought of a really funny but true way that I believe a lot of us live. You ready for it? It's really simple. Just think about how you talk to yourself sometimes and the things you allow yourself to say to disparage yourself, degrade yourself, belittle yourself, ridicule, insult. Strong words, right? But just reflect on the times that you're allowing this to happen or are really allowing yourself to do this to yourself. Now imagine someone came up to you and they started saying those exact same things. Those innermost thoughts in your mind that you allow yourself to speak on a daily basis. Maybe it's like an online hater or a troll, or maybe someone comes up to your face even and says some of these hateful things directly to you. How would you react? Would you just stand there and take that? Jeez, I know me, and I'd probably be ready to throw down, yo. Because how dare you say that about me? How dare you try to put that on me? You don't even know me. Or even if you do know me, you have no right to say that about me. Or better yet, if you don't want to even think about someone coming and saying that to you, what if someone came at your best friend like that? Oh, that's a new ball game, right? You wouldn't stand there and let someone degrade your friend in front of you. Or like for me as a parent, if someone was talking about my kid that way, speaking that way, I would never allow that. So why do we allow ourselves to do that? Why do we allow our own mind to do that? You know, I actually saw a quote the other day from Ed Milet, and I wanted to share it here because it works perfectly in context to this episode. He said, talk to yourself like you would talk to the love of your life. Wow. I'm going to say that again. Talk to yourself like you would the love of your life. Now, when I read that and I reflected on that, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I definitely don't talk to myself like I'm the love of my life. Unless, of course, I never wanted the love of my life to stick around or be here. So if you're finding yourself being your own worst critic, and I know a lot of us do, or even worse, you find yourself in a place where you're finding it difficult to even like yourself most days, just know one thing. You're not alone. You are not alone. So many people we speak to and so many people around are feeling the same way. These are people that are successful. These are people that are powerful. These are people that do amazing things. They still feel this way. And I know that might sound cliche, but there's some comfort for me in knowing that other people struggle with the same thing that I do. The fact is, many of us struggle with these negative feelings and these negative beliefs about ourselves. I know for me, I'm constantly on my own case about not doing enough. And when I'm trying to do so many things, which is a lot of the time, I catch myself judging myself for putting all the effort over here and then not so much over here. Like I'm doing really great with the job thing, not so much with the relationship thing. I'm doing really good with the relationship thing with my partner, but not so much with my kids. You see where I'm going here. So as an example, Meg and I have been going through this super intensive training for our business lately. And we have been literally laser focused on this. And I mean laser focused to the point where it's consumed our thoughts and pretty much every waking hour of what we're doing. Now, that's fine for a time, but it does take a toll on your relationship. It takes a toll on your relationship as partners, takes a control on your relationship with your kids, with your friends. And when I personally noticed these shortcomings throughout these last handful of weeks, I started to really talk poorly to myself. And once you start feeding into that negativity and that negative energy, we all know what happens, right? It snowballs. You start feeding that negative energy. And when you focus in on that negative energy and you start kind of kicking yourself as you're down, it can really get powerful. And it can have the capacity to chew you up and spit you out if you allow it to. Now, I know many times when those negative thoughts and feelings come up in my life, I start to not only feel negatively about myself, but I start to treat myself badly. So what do I mean by that? Well, I start depriving myself of good things that I know are good for me, like sleep. I start eating terrible food and I ignore the healthy food. Or sometimes I know some of us will abuse substances, or we'll be drinking or doing something else in excess. And all these things are just causing more harm than good because they're not actually adding value. And if you're already in a negative space, they're actually doing more to advocate for that negative space. Okay, this is great, Brandon. So what do we do then? Because this is a reality that I know most of y'all are living in. I mean, I talk to y'all and I know for myself it's the same thing. So what do we do? Because it's hard to see yourself as a person of worth when the one person who is always the constant in your mind, that's you, is always treating yourself so badly. So in turn, that makes it so much harder for other people, by the way, to see your worth when you can't even see it yourself. So let me first stop right here and tell you, you don't need to be speaking to yourself that way. And you certainly don't need to be having those thoughts about you. I don't even need to personally know you to say, you're here. You started listening to this podcast today. So you must be a little bit serious about thinking differently and trying to be better for yourself. Because that's legit our mission over here at the Fools in Love podcast, yos. To help you be better while we personally try to continue to better ourselves. So here's the truth. If you're here, if you're on this earth, if you're living and breathing, that's all of us, by the way, you have a purpose. You're powerful. And you're the type of person who can and will figure this out. And I know it might not seem like it right now, but you will. I've been there more times than I care to admit. But guess what? I always figured it out. I'm still here. Okay, so here we go. First things first. You have to prioritize yourself. And this includes your emotional and physical health. And that is you first. And I already hear some of y'all. No, this is not selfish like much of the world would have you believe. And I'm going to tell you why. You want to show up as a good partner, right? A good parent, a good employee, a good boss, heck, a good human being. Then you have to care about yourself first. The more time you spend on you and how you treat yourself, the better you're going to show up in every other area of your life. That's the simple truth, y'all. It's time to start prioritizing you a little bit more. It's great. It is so great to show up for others. And don't take this the wrong way. I'm not taking that away. I'm certainly not taking that away completely. So hear me. And trust me when I say I serve my family and friends and employees well. I do. But you still got to prioritize you. Because we do a really great job a lot of times at pleasing other people, showing up for other people, but we do a very terrible job at showing up for ourselves. And that's the first step in all this. So the next thing, when you start caring better for yourself, you need to recognize your needs and figure out where they're being unmet. If you're feeling badly, if you're using negativity about yourself, on yourself, and again, I mean, it can't all be sunshine and rainbows. So where are your needs not being met? And then how do we work toward finding ways to meet those needs? Can we ask for help? Can we maybe talk to our partner about it or a friend? These are all questions you need to answer. And just so you know, I mean, I literally do this all the time. Mostly with Megan. I'll tell her all of this. I'll use her as a resource. I'll use her as someone to communicate this with. But heck, I did this the other day with my brother too. And just as a side note, I think he got a little more than he bargained for when he called me to just see what was going on. Because I let it in. But you got to open up. You got to be vulnerable all the time. And you got to be willing to ask for help. Don't be too proud. Because why deal with this stuff on your own? But in order to do this, you're going to have to ask for help. And you're going to have to be clear on what your needs are and where they are falling short. Which leads me right into the next one of the most important things I could say. You have to surround yourself with people who are going to bring out the best in you. You just have to. And I know every time I say this, I feel people listening are tensing up. Y'all might be tensing up a little bit right now. But you know why? Because many of us are people pleasers. Many of us care more about what other people might think about the things we are doing than what is best for us, our families, and our own lives. But some of these people in your life, you gotta be real, y'all. They might not be serving you. And I want to point this out too. You don't need to shun or cut them out completely from your life. Some people you might need to do that with. I'll be honest. Some people that might be the case. But for most of them, you don't need to cut them out completely. But you also don't need them around all the time. You don't need to force the situation. And I think some of us know who these people are. Some people might be coming to your mind. But I'm going to tell you right now, for me, my circle, my people as I call it, it's a real small group, y'all. Very small. Because I want to surround myself with people that I can trust, with people that I can confide in, and most important, people that encourage me and bring joy into my life every day. You know the people you talk to, where you hang up the phone, you leave the conversation, and you just feel drained. Or you all of a sudden feel really bad about yourself or the world just because you interacted with them. Oh, come on, guys. We all know this person, right? We all know someone. So take a look at the people you surround yourself with and make sure they truly encourage you and want the best for you and lift you up. And by the way, you should be the same way for those people. If you don't have those people in your life, go find them. If you have those people in your life, you should be showing up the same way for them. Be that support system for them. Be the shoulder to lean on for them. Because it works better when you can both be there to lift each other up. You got to pay it forward. And lastly, once you start doing this work, give yourself a break. Because we all make mistakes. We all fall short. We all fail. But life isn't so much about failing. It's really about how we pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off after we fall on our face. I know we all want to get to the mountaintops, y'all. But growth happens in the valleys, not on the mountaintops. Those valleys you've lived in or are living in or might be living in the future, they're your education. Those valleys are your turning points in life. Remember, you're there for a reason. You are living in a valley right now. If you're there, search for meaning in it because you are there for a reason. Trust me when I say this. Because every valley I've ever been in, I've learned so much. And I'll give it to you. It was painful learning. It wasn't something I would have invited on. It certainly wasn't something that I voluntarily wanted to do. And I'll give you that. But it was learning nonetheless. I'm going to leave you guys with something, and it's something that's been heavy on my heart recently, but it's like we're not meant to be happy all the time. We're going to have these valleys. We're going to have these struggles. But I'm going to tell y'all, you got this. You can do this. If you try some of these things that I've talked about, your eyes are going to open up. Your shoulders are going to rise. You're going to feel better. And I hope you're going to speak to yourself better. Because you're here. You deserve more. And I'm going to leave you all with a quote from Helen Keller today. And she says, "When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often, we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one that has been opened for us." Talk nicer to yourself, y'all. We're here for you if you need us. Make it a great day.
Hey B, what did you think of that episode?
I think it was pretty dang good.
Well, what should someone do if they enjoyed these last 30 minutes?
They should probably head over and leave us a review so we can reach more people.
They definitely should.
Guys, if you like the Fools in Love podcast, please go follow us over on Instagram at Fools in Love Podcast.
We'd love to connect with you and learn more about what you'd like to hear.